is it about speed? Do these rivals chase speed because they can? Or because they can't help it? IndyCar. The heart of racing. Go to IndyCar.com for live timing and scoring, upcoming race details, and to join the conversation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Thursday nights here on RaceSpotTV. It is time for some V8 Supercar action as it's round number 3 of the Champions of the Futures V8 Supercar Championship from Road Atlanta. Will Vincent here. You can see qualifying is just complete. Let's run yourself through your starting grid for tonight's race here at this magnificent racing facility. And you can tell on pole position, it'll be Stephen Humber on pole position at the time of 1 minute 19.865. Oscar Mangan alongside him on the front row of the grid, but is well back. Half a second behind, we have seen Bibert rounding out inside of 2 rows out front for French drivers. And then you see on the outside of the front 2 rows, it's 2 British drivers, with Trevor Johnson on the outside. We'll head it on back, and you can see behind, you got yourself the driver of Malcolm Mogren in P5, Alexander Derbalis in P6, Michel Karuna and Timo Ronkino in P number 8, Ashley Sutton, Igor Sudanitsky in P10, Lindsay Ballow in P number 12. You can see the rear part of your grid here. Well, we've got ourselves drivers lining up now, getting themselves ready for the start of tonight's event. Will Vincent along with Dan Blake, we're heading ourselves down to the starting grid for this round number 3 of the Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship.
I think you mean Euro V8, Will.
That's exactly what I mean. Oh, you know what? I'm so stuck in my ways. V8. I think Dan's just shocked at me. Here we can see then your field lining up on the starting grid right now. Dan, Road Atlanta, it's a fast track, but you cannot pass from turns 2 all the way down to about turn 6.
That's something that these drivers will probably try and challenge though, because you may be able to get into turn 5 if you can get enough of a run, but it takes someone very brave to attempt it. But as you say, turn 6 is the first real passing opportunity, I think.
Well, there you can see your field lining up on the starting grid. Notice that half your field are currently behind the final corner. There's 1 or 2 drivers that you can see are all the way up at the rear of the field, all the way up at pit road. That means they're going to have themselves a very, very difficult run down to the first corner on this racetrack. As you can see there, we'll show you a couple of angles, and there you can see that thing I was just showing you a moment ago. Note these drivers here. They're not even on the run down to the final corner. They are at pit entry. Bear that one in mind at the start of this event. And this is why starts with Road Atlanta can get so messy. Well, we're just waiting now, ladies and gentlemen, for these drivers to complete their gridding process. Any moment now, caution light will go off. You can see the RaceSpotTV first official in the flag stand, waiting for all these drivers to get ready to go racing for this round number 3 of the RaceSpotTV Champions of the Futures World V8 Championships, because I'm going to get it one right at least once here today. Drivers are here then, getting themselves ready. Don't forget, we have got Tuesday night Champions of the Futures. That is going to be with touring cars. But 30 laps about to get underway here as far as we go with V8 action. That race will start right now. Great start there by your front row of the grid as they come down in towards turn 1. The Leah Bodden Apex Racing car with a good start, but they're all going to charge on into that first corner. They're too wide as they work themselves down into that one. Well, good start overall by your front couple of rows that now come too wide, trying to separate that into one. We've got 1 car off there. He's just going a little bit sideways. A little bit shaking on the brakes towards turn 2, Dan. We expect that, but for the time being, most people are through relatively okay.
A very good start from this V8 field, and Trevor Johnson made a good start from the second row, started 4th up to 3rd. He made a challenge for 2nd, couldn't quite make it work, but he's definitely one. He made the best of the start, and there's a car from the barrier, looks like a CQR car.
Well, there you can see Oscar Mangan there in that number 22 car. We'll figure out who that CQR car is in 1 minute's time. Dan?
Now, I think it may have actually been Ashley Sutton. Yeah, it was Ashley Sutton, I think. He's got some damage to that front right.
We see him off again there, down on that double apex right-hander, Ashley Sutton, and the number 16 CQR machine off of the racetrack. What a shame for him. We can see as a rider on board there is damage to that race car. He is going to be well down the field very early on. This is, of course, a defending champion from previous seasons of the World Touring Car Championship, running himself in V8 competition, and well, not having himself a good day here in the V8 series, as he's well down into P number 32 right now. Out front though, Malcolm Mogren battling it out with the driver of Yassine Berber. This is a P4, P5, and Dan, we have to say, Trevor Johnson, Simon Humber, this is a great battle going on up front. We can tell that that driver of Humber is starting on the front row of the grid. He is leading right now, but the driver of Johnson is right there, 2 places up from P4 to P2.
Yeah, from P4 up into P2. Actual great start to this race from Trevor Johnson, and top 5 starting to pull away a little bit. And Benjamin Lindsay, he was joint first in the championship at the beginning of the round, currently sits in 9th position.
Behind, you can see Berber battling it out. You can have a look from the rear of him as they work themselves down in towards turn number 4, I believe this is. Yep, down into turn number 4. We're right on board with him now as they work themselves. Actually, this is through turn 6 and 7. I'll take the one back completely. Down into that long back track where they come. So now we'll go on board with Berber. As you can see, they've got drivers ahead of him. They're just about 0.5 of a second back. And the thing of this race is, Dan, is that we're looking at lap times around 1 minute 25-ish. This is a 40-minute race here today. That means you've got to get moving now, especially if you're a driver who'd had a bad qualifying.
Quite a few opportunities, but as you say, it's only a 30-lap race. It's, in some respects, you could say it's a bit of a sprint race, as the lap times are quite low. And for someone like Ben Palmer, who started right down the field, I know he's been doing a bit better than he currently is at the moment in 25th. He'll be keen to get up some positions, but there are some names we expect to see a bit further up and down, and they'll be looking to rectify that as soon as possible.
Yeah, actually right on board with Ben Palmer as he heads himself past the start-finish line so far today in this race. Ben Palmer is up 8 positions, up into P number 19. He is moving forward, and that CQR number 9 car as they work themselves through turn number 1, down and towards 2, 3, 4. This complex, Dan, you're a racer. Explain how complicated this complex is.
You've got to have your car balanced really, because there's a lot of change of direction. So weight distribution plays part. Ben Palmer there very sideways, did well to hold on to it, but you've really got to have a good setup for corners like this, because obviously you quickly change your left to right, and Ben Palmer's turning straight into the wall.
Palmer, well, we're not going to call that the curse of the commentators. That is the curse of Road Atlanta. And what the only thing we can really say about this one, Dan, is that Road Atlanta is a tale of 2 tracks. The first sector is very, very high on that aerodynamic and mechanical grip. Sector 2 is less so. It's more about the driver. But if you can't get the 2 balanced out, it's a bit like Spa. It's the American version of Spa. I so often call it. Ben Palmer down to P30, damaged that CQR car. But this really is the American version of Spa because of the fact that you've got 2 very distinctive parts of the racetrack.
Yeah, that makes it very hard for you to try and make a setup really, because you've got 2 areas there. And just another note, that turn 5 we've seen cause problems in DWC races, all sorts of high profile races. Ben Palmer, that's exactly where Ashley Sutton went off as well, so CQR corner I think we can call it for the rest of this one.
Yeah, indeed, as we ride on board there with Berbertis work himself down in towards that famous turn number 5 as it stands right now. I think that Road Atlanta's turn 5 on iRacing is getting itself the sort of notoriety that you only can match by the Wall of Champions at the Circuit Gilbert. And of course, if you missed anything from the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series from Montreal, don't forget, head over to wcs.iracing.com. This is the rear end of your field then. Some great battles going on here. You actually see Sergio Oliveira battling out a grid rate, battle for position, not quite there. You've got a driver going very slowly. I believe that is Oliveira, who's actually going to get himself past on the run down in towards turn number 7 and 8. But off tracks is a thing here as well, Dan, is that it's very easy, especially in turn 5 and through the S's, to do what we call a corner cut. And that means that you've got to slow down and give back the time gained. In some cases, it is fair, it is proportional. In other cases, race control will hit you a number, you've got to hit it. But at the end of the day, don't do the crime, you can't pay the penalty.
Exactly. Some of the, especially now with the new build though, it makes it a little bit easier to realise what you have to do to gain that time back. But turn 5, a very easy one to do that, as you can drift the car out wide, but you try not to do it too wide. But Stephen Humber already running away this race. He's over 3 seconds clear now of Trevor Johnson.
Yeah, as we're going to show you then the gap between your top 20, and you see the movement through your field first. Johnson up 2 positions. Biggest move inside the top 10 is the driver in 10th position. That is Mayers. He is up 6 spots inside your top 10. Biggest mover overall, well, that is Smith. He is up a total of 11 positions right now, as he's working himself higher and higher through the field, battling to try and move himself towards the front. And there you can see that driver we were talking about just one moment ago. It is the number 15 machine of George Smith, up 11 positions in this race so far. That shows that some drivers with bad qualifying, if they are just persistent, they can move up spaces. But you can see George already has a little bit of damage to that number 15 machine, Dan.
True spirit of touring cars, a little bit of bashing and boring, but that battle for 10th place really is hotting up. Jamie Lee Myers under huge pressure from Danjel Tomzik on the run down towards turn 10. Tomzik's just going to get down towards the inside. Jamie Lee Myers to give him the space. Tomzik down the inside, but Mayers onto the grass now, and that should allow the momentum for the car of Tomczyk to come round his outside, but it's going to be a close one to come into the final corner, Will.
Yeah, too wide as they work themselves through that final corner. There you can see the Scandinavia car on the inside. He loses that position. We're going on board of him then. Car is now in front of him. Mayers has got Ballard behind him just by a tenth of a second, but Daniel Tomczyk now up into that top 10, and well, you can tell the gap is out on Mayers losing another position there, down in towards turn 1. Smoke around there as well. We're going to drive it off of the racetrack, and that one, I believe, is Alexander De Bellis there. And then about 83 machine as well. Not the kind of race he would have wanted to have here, Dan. Now all the way down to P number 19, possibly going to fall down to P number 20.
He was going so well for De Bellis until then. He was up in 6th position, had a bit of a gap between himself and the car of Team Alonco in 7th, but he's got to do all that hard work again, and he may even have damage from that.
Yeah, we can see the back end of that incident. We're going to get a look from our aerial coverage brought to you by And One Design. And this is going to be the incident there. It's a 3-part incident. There's the first part, and you'll see that second part right about here. That is the Team Turtle number 83 car and the Friction Racing car involved in an incident. This is down in turn number 3 on the racetrack, and you can see De Bellis there trying to get himself back going. And, well, that is not the... That's a 3-car incident. We don't see 3-car incidents often here after that one, Dan. Well, we've had one. But this was even down in the S's. This was down in the entry to turn number 2. Friction Racing driver involved in it. That's what we normally don't see in this series. But we've had ourselves a 3-car incident. That's as simple as that.
As you say, not very often we see incidents like that, and also coming down towards turn 10, Esteban Ballo was 3 wide with a couple of other drivers, so we very nearly had a 3-car incident. They managed to all get through it successfully, but Esteban Ballo definitely made a gain. There's 2 cars going side by side behind. I think one of them might be that driver of George Smith we were talking about earlier. In fact, there's 2 cars behind him, so that will be the car of, is that Daniel Page? No, it's Jonas Jukkonen and Niels Jordan there.
Well, the issue with Ballo, in my opinion, is that I've known Ballo for many years. He used to run the ISWC IndyCar Series. He's an open-wheel driver originally by trade. The difference between this and V8s, Dan, is that this is closed cockpits compared to open cockpits. It means that what he can do, just a little bit, is push the driver off the racetrack. And I think Ballo still races occasionally like an open-wheel driver.
It's a very tough transition to make, but also remember Ashley Sutton, front wheel drive to rear wheel drive. I wouldn't say he's struggling, but he's definitely not as dominant as he is in that front wheel drive Kia. Even for someone like Ashley's experience, it does take a bit of used to really. So, and that's just going from front wheel drive to rear wheel drive. So the fact Ballard's gone from open wheel to closed wheel, that is quite an accomplishment, and he's running just outside the top 10.
Yeah, we've got Jonas Jukkonen and Niels Jordan and Alexander De Bellis battling it out right now. 4th position, working ourselves on the end of lap number 8 then of 30 here at Road Atlanta. And it's been a very entertaining start to this race so far. You can see then the gap between the race leader, and actually this is the fastest lap of the race so far. Humber, we've not talked about him much in this race, and it's the Mercedes syndrome here, Dan. He's just dominating.
It's sure to be quite happy to do that as well, less hassle. But the battle for second place hotting up a little bit, because Bubba seems to be catching up to Trevor Johnson. He's a lot closer than last time he looked, and in the next couple of laps maybe sizing up his chance for a move. And Ashley Sutton unfortunately now retired from this race.
Yep, There you can see Trevor Johnson running himself in that number 59 car. Just about 2 tenths of a second ahead right now of Yassin Burner down into the chicane. That was close, but what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to ride ourselves a lap on board with this. The French driver of Yacine Berber. We'll be back in just one moment's time. Dan, what you see about this racetrack is that Sector 1 is that you can catch, but it's very hard to pass. Berber right on the rear there of the Apex Racing car, Trevor Johnson, on the run down into turn number 5, but he loses. Oh! There, Berber's going to get that one because Johnson gets himself all forms to lose out of turn 7. Berber into P number 2. That will be the driver of Johnson down into P number 3. Replay from Johnson's point of view. That was loose out of turn number 7. Classic textbook.
He's quite lucky to have gotten away of just losing one position, because that could have been into that wall on the far side there. But Johnson will try and recover and get back at Berber. But as you say about the first section, the second section of the track is where the aero, these V8 supercars, can come into their own. If you can get behind the car, we've seen a couple of times the slipstream playing quite a big effect down that back straight towards turn 10.
Yeah, anyone who watched the Verizon IndyCar Series race from Texas Motor Speedway, even though it was an oval race, you had to understand the power of the downforce. Marco Morgan battling it out with Benjamin Lindsay right now. Of course, Benjamin Lindsay, a driver in the Iverson.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are less than 10 days away from the next race of the season as Dan, they head over to Northamptonshire, England, over to Silverstone as they start the second half of that season. Lindsay runs in that series, but Hootie versus Kroenke, don't discount Kroenke. It's as simple as that. I'm calling it here first. Kroenke's going to win the championship.
Martin Kroenke's been something like the bridesmaid of a few seasons where he's been quite up with the front part, but not quite been able to take the victory. And there's a move here actually. Marco Mogren is going to go past Benjamin Lindsay going into turn number 6. But Martin Kroenke, a very good driver, as you say, Will, and I think definitely will be a contender for the iRacing World Grand Prix Series.
Yeah, Lindsay is down a position. There we can see then in that TNT racing car, because they are dynamite. Benjamin Lindsay working himself past lap traffic. That's the CQR car as they work themselves past that. And you can see Lindsay trying to make that move as they work themselves down in towards the final chicane here. Lindsay getting out of the gas in that TNT racing car. That is one thing though, Dan. It's one of these things that people don't often realise. That you don't have to go for every single pass on the racetrack. Sometimes it's better to stay in line. A, you save fuel. B, you understand your opponent's weaknesses.
And also, it's a 30-lap race, so only just a third of the way through it now, so there's no real rush at the moment. Later in the race, you may see people maybe a bit more desperate, but at the moment, quite content, I think, to sit behind the car, Marco Mogren at the moment, and as you say, save a bit of fuel and set himself up for the rest of the race. And the party didn't also do that, because Mogren's put it in the wall.
Yeah, there we can see Trevor Johnson on pit road as we speak right now, making himself a pit stop. He is out and away. His pit stop time is 13.5 seconds. Of course, Dan, these drivers have to make one pit stop. Johnson on pit road, he is making himself a scheduled pit stop. Some drivers, well, they're doing the same thing right now. Luke Widray, they can see him on pit roads there. Hulkamania is running raw, brother.
You ate your vitamins, Will, but as we see Trevor Johnson, this might be an inspiring move by him, because he's only just been overtaken by Berber, and he's got some clear track in front of him now, so he might be able to push and try and avoid the undercut.
They can see Widray coming out of pit road there on the entry to turn number 1. A couple other people have made pit stops. They can see Miles Coletti has made himself a pit stop, but that one was unscheduled, Dan. He's all the way down in P 27, that 226 car, CQR machine, way down the field, and that is not what he would have wanted here today.
No, Miles, one of the drivers who fights in the top half of the field in the World Touring Car Series, and I think CQR in general not having the best of days. So Ashley Sutton in the wall, we see Ben Palmer in the wall, and now Miles down in 27th place. So CQR will be thinking this may be a race to forget for them at the moment.
Well, yeah, they had issues as we see Esteban Balak on towards pit road right now. There you can see him there. He is going to be out and away in a pit stop time. Actually, that's not Balak. That is Yasin Babert in 14.4 seconds inside of turn 1. Penzo car coming past him. Another car coming past him there. That's Igor Bremrek down to the inside. Will look, Jamie Mayer's not quite close enough. Yasin Babert out in P number 15, but into traffic. And the issue is here, Dan. You come out of pit road, get into traffic. Yes, you get the draft, but the other issue is that you're losing that tyre validity immediately.
Yeah, cold tyres also play a factor, but Beber just about got out in front of Trevor Johnson. He's like going to go around the outside of Jamie Lee Meyer. So that battle for what would be second on the road, still very close. And as you say, the traffic will not be helping Yassine Beber at all at the moment.
Let's ride on board of him then. Back in the racetrack, the play game car ahead of him. That's Igor Begrek as he works himself down this back straightaway. Then there's Shaw Smith and Niels Jordan ahead of him, but Beber not able to do anything. Part of that reason is, Dan, Beber has a higher fuel load compared to these two drivers ahead of him who are yet to pit.
Weight plays a factor at this stage of the race with the ones who are pitted and the ones that haven't, and Trevor Johnson just behind as well, and Beber going across the grass a little bit there, so Beber starting to get maybe a little bit flustered knowing that Johnson is actually right behind him now near enough.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are now on lap number 13 of 30 here at Road Atlanta. As the drivers are still continuing to work themselves around this magnificent racetrack. Out front, Dan, we talked about this already, Mosca Mangren in P number 2. He must feel so disjointed right now. 13.5 seconds behind, 14.5 seconds behind your race leader. He can't even see Humber. He's like 4 corners ahead of him right now. That has got to be demolishing. In fact, I'm just having a look on board of him. You might have just seen Humbert there, disappearing down the crest on the exit of the final chicane.
Do you think that number might be a bit of a coincidence, Will, the number 44? We've seen that happen in Formula 1 enough times with that car.
Well, you tell you what, that number 44 car, of course, is 44th pole position, as it was, for Lewis Hamilton. And it was a great weekend for him. The only difference is, of course, Stephen Humbert, in the nicest way possible, that he isn't a UK driver. He's a French driver. So, Lewis Hamilton's car number, but Humbert's made it his own as well. But you're right. That 44 car, I tell you what, this year, 44 has been the magic number. You think about NASCAR, you think about the number 8 for Dale, you think about maybe the 29 for Harvick, sorry, the double 8 even for Dale and Art Jr. Or maybe the 48, but the 44 car this year has been the dominant number in motorsport.
Oh, definitely. Lewis Hamilton and Stephen Humber. Be interesting to see what the number choices are across iRacing, but go have a quick look back now and see what's happening between Beber and Johnson, and they're going through traffic. Beber side by side at the moment with the car of George Smith. So George Smith now between them.
Yeah, we've got more drivers onto pit road. Let's show you Alexandro De Ballis on pit road. We've also got ourselves Michael Schneider on pit road as well. There you can see Schneider in the movie star car, the number 4 car. EcoBoost Ford coming out of pit road. He will come out ahead of Alexander De Ballis. By the looks of it, going to be close actually. No, De Ballis will just about get ahead there. As we have a look from the rear there of De Ballis to get behind. Well, let's make that about 2 seconds on the racetrack, Dan.
De Ballis, of course, looking to make amends to that earlier mistake. He was in the sit place, spun off, dropped down quite a bit down the order. So Alessandro De Ballis now with some quite clear track in front of him. So he'll be able to push on, and we'll see what happens at the end of the pit cycle with that one.
Yeah, we've still got many more drivers to pit in today's event. However, for example, we just have Jean-Louis Mayers coming out of pit road. There you can see him, it's right on board of him. In fact, no, I think he just had a slow, miserable lap. He's on a back straight. He shouldn't be coming on towards pit road, but I think he might have had himself an incident. We'll get confirmation of that in a moment's time. But let's have a look at Stephen Humbert then, working himself in the race lead, working himself 14 laps of 14 led in today's event. The only other driver to lead lap in today's event, well, that is no one. Stephen Humber, every single lap of this race has been led. 5 box, he's going to come onto pit road this time by Dan.
So I think it probably is about time for him to come into pits, but nope, he says he's going to go for another lap. Probably just to make that lead a bit more bigger before he comes in.
I'll tell you what, he's got a huge lead though. Look at that, 18 seconds over Oscar Mangan. This is V8 racing. This is supposed to be close here, and Mangan, it's just being completely and utterly, I don't even want to say owned there by Humber, or if I'm going to go into game technology here. Just pawned, maybe you can say.
And you can tell Mangan's really giving it some, because back end coming out as he came out of turn 10B, he's really pushing. And in fact, there's a car that's been off just in front of him that's coming back on now, I see as well. Looks like the car of, let's see who that is. That is Rafael Gamon.
Well, there's Mangan. So far, he started in P2. He's running in P2. Best lap time, 120.686. Last lap, 120.811. His last lap time, a tenth of a second slower than Simon Humbert. The issue is that Humber has technically not done a full complete lap here, and that one could become interesting, the last laps of this race here, because of course Humbert has to abide by the off-track regulations in force in this series, Dan.
Yeah, not too many off tracks for Stephen Humber, and he used to be a bit careful of that, but something which could be quite good to watch towards the end of the race. To see when Oscar Mannon plays out in that battle between the cars of Trevor Jordan and Yassine Babert. In fact, Jordan's gone past Babert, but we've seen those two cars stuck in traffic whilst Mannon has had a pretty much clear run, so he may actually get in front of those two once the pit cycle's finished.
Yeah, we've got Yassine Babert on pit road there. You can see him there down towards P number 19, but many drivers haven't pitted around him. Lap number 17 of 30 scored complete. One other driver coming back out onto the racetrack. I believe that might have been Michael Schneider there. Indeed it was there in the movie star car coming out on pit road. P number 21 now back onto the racetrack will be Yassine Babert. No, he won't. It's a long pit stop for him. Speeding penalty for Babert. That is not what you want here in a short race like this there, Dan.
Definitely not, and that's also not his first pit stop, of course, number. He came in a bit earlier as well, so looks like something's gone wrong for Babert for him to come down for a second trip as well.
Yeah, there you can see Babert there. He has not had the day he would have wanted. There you can see his car pretty much classified as out there. So we're going to get a look, if we can, from our secondary pit road camera and see if we can zoom in on that. I don't think he's at the right angle, unfortunately, so we have to rely on our aerial coverage to figure out exactly what happened to him. Front end of that car, well, that looks moderately okay. It's with the other side of the car that we're trying to get ourselves a look at, which we will do in due course when we have the opportunity to do so. There's the front end of that car. There's a little bit of damage there to the front end, but we've got ourselves Daniel Page and George Smith on pit road right now. We've got a Pennzoil car and a CQR car on pit road. Two CQR cars and two Pennzoil cars on pit road at the same time, Dan.
Coordinated teamwork there, both cars at the same time, but unfortunately one of those cars for CQR, Ben Palmer, 6 laps down, so we can basically count him out of this, unfortunately. Mars Coletzi is not in the pits at the moment for CQR. He's running in 25th position, so unfortunately for Ben Palmer, not the best of days for him. He's going to be very disappointed with that, but there's more cars coming out the pits, as you say, Will. One of the Pennzoil ones.
We're waiting for this driver. It's the driver of Stephen Humber there in that number 44 machine as he heads himself down the back straight. Once again, we see a couple of drivers then. We've seen about half the field now onto pit road. Half the field haven't come in. 18 laps out of 30 here, Dan. We know that these drivers are due in soon. This race is a bit longer than what we saw last week. You can see Humber there looking down to the inside of another driver, about 1.5 seconds ahead of him to the next victim who on the lead lap, and that will be the driver of Igor Bergbeck, I believe, is the last driver on the lead lap, and Humber will do another lap, and that means that Humber will get himself there past the driver of Igor Bergbeck, perhaps by the end of this lap. But of course, one or two drivers have already gone a lap down. There's Nikolai Bogatyrev, Bobrovsky.
Oscar Manning continues on for another lap as well, but recently lap times between Manning and Humber have been quite level, so in the terms of what's happening further down in terms of second place, Manning could be putting himself right in the box seat. Only 2/10 gained by Humber on that lap, so Manning proving that he has got the pace to be a similar speed, but currently got 2 cars in front of him. That's Niels Jordan and Michael Schneider.
Here's the issue for Oscar Mangan. Only one of those drivers is the driver he's racing with. The other driver is lap traffic. If he can push, he hasn't done it. What you really want to have done if you're Oscar Mangan is get right into the rear on the exit of turn number 5. Make that dangerous move we talked about, Dan. Get the run down towards turn number 6 and 6A. Get yourself the run on the back straight. But Mangan, there you see the gap between himself and the race lead up on your screen. Not quite close enough. It's the actual case of close but no cigar. 20 seconds to the race lead, but he needs to get himself ahead of this traffic as soon as he possibly can.
It doesn't help that Mangan and Jordan, not Mangan and Jordan, the car Jordan and Schneider are actually battling for position, and it's going to be very reluctant to let the car of Oscar Mangan through because they're held on their own little battle as such.
There we can see then down the back straight away. This is Oscar Mangan heading himself. Oh, Humber is onto pit road. Humber is on towards pit road, ladies and gentlemen. There we can see there, Stephen Humber onto pit road. 19 laps out of 20, scored complete, Dan. He's going to take himself 4 tyres. He'll get himself some Sunoco race fuel. He will do 10 more laps of this motor race.
And Oscar Mangan has stayed out on track, so we may actually have our first lead change at the line next time round if Oscar Mangan doesn't make a pit stop, because Oscar Mangan has stayed out. But as you say, Stephen Humber is going to get some tyres. He should have no problem getting out of front of those 2 other cars. Trevor Johnson, well, it's Trevor Johnson now, unfortunately, after the demise of Bebev. And Trevor Johnson, yeah, he's just coming through turn 10 now, so a big gap there for the car to come out back in.
There's Humber. Lindsay just gone past him. So that means that Humber is down to P number 3 for the time being. Lindsay hasn't yet pitted. I was just having a look there at the timing and scoring. Lindsay hasn't pitted here. We are looking at 2 drivers, Mangan and Lindsay. But the thing is that we know that both these have to pit in this race so far. Humber with a good run there on the exit of turn number 5. Of course, he's got fresher tyres compared to that of Benjamin Lindsay. Down to the inside. He completes that pass easily there over Lindsay. Lindsay knows he hasn't got anything there for that fresher tired car of Stephen Humber, running himself in P number 3. The Frenchman, number 44, moving closer to victory lane there, Dan.
You're moving closer to victory lane. That wasn't in fact Benjamin Lindsay that Humber overtook. That was the lapped car of Gaman and Daniel Page. I think Benjamin Lindsay is actually in front of the number 44 at the moment. But as you say, it's very critical for Humber to get through this traffic now he's made his pit stop to make the most of those tyres.
Yeah, that's right. Ourselves on board the driver of Jonas Jukkanen in the number 88 machine for Dale as he works himself then on pit road. He's doing a pit stop time that currently is 15.2 seconds. Out and away he comes. We've got another driver on towards pit road. That is Oscar Mangren as he's heading into his pit box right now. So Mangren now on towards pit road, and Dan, critical pit stop right here.
Very critical, but Trevor Johnson just coming out the last corner now, so depending on how quick that pit crew is for Mangan, I don't think it's quite done enough. In fact, it's just leaving the pit lane now, it's going to be close, but I think Johnson will just about pip him. But we'll see, Mangan will have the fresher tyres as side by side, and Johnson just about makes it, but the rest of this lap's going to be quite fraught, I think, once the tyres get heated up.
Yeah, Mangan's got cold tyres, and you can see Mangan pushing hard. He's lost himself. That's game over there for Mangan. He won't be able to do anything from now, Dan.
No, pushing a bit hard there on cold tyres, but he saw his opportunity. He saw Johnson. They were side by side as they came out of pits, and we saw that Mangan had some good pace earlier, so it might not quite be over yet. We've got 9 laps to go. Anything can happen still, but obviously a setback there for Oscar Mangan.
Well, let's tell ourselves to look then. They can see Oscar Mangan coming out of pit road. They can see Trevor Johnson on your screen right now. We're going to slow it all the way down for you on the run down towards turn 1. You can see the spoils, the tribulations of the inside versus the outside line here at Road Atlanta. And that's one of these things that drivers always have to consider. On the exit of turn 1, well, I'll tell you what, Trevor Johnson with momentum, he gets himself to the race lead. We move ourselves, not the race lead, he moves himself to the lead of this battle. He gets the momentum. But then we can see Mangren through the S's. That's where he gets sideways. And Dan, that is where Mangren gets himself just a little bit, and I mean a little bit upset.
Got a bit of work to do now, and our single-seater convert, Mr. Istvan Ballo, now onto pit road, Will.
While Ballo is then on towards pit road, of course, ISOWC former champion here, running himself down in your mid-pack. But Istvan Ballo trying to get himself an impression here in the World Touring Car Championship. The V8s here on RaceSpotTV. You can see there, Igor Berman running himself down in P number 19. We can see other drivers around him now, battling for position. And there you can see Istvan Ballo heading himself out of pit road. Vodafone on your car. Apparently that means Vorchi. Back onto the racetrack. Ballo, I think, P number...
just come out in front of Nikolai Bagachev, so P6, and we just saw Stephen Humber overtake the car of Benjamin Lindsay on the track. Lindsay hasn't pitted, so Humber making the most of the tyres, and I think Benjamin Lindsay will be wise to come into pit road, and he's going to do that right now.
Lindsay's come back. Oh! Trouble on the racetrack there. Ballo from the rear of that. That is Alexander de Ballis there. You can see Ballis has been involved in an incident behind. We had ourselves a couple of incidents. Well, That one was pure racing going on just a moment there. There you can see, though, the driver of Alexander Ballas. No, it was Nikolai Budskadov involved in a big incident. That was down towards turn number 5 and 6 on the racetrack there. And I have to say, that is not what we want to see, Dan, this late on into a race.
It's not a place you want to have a bit of a moment like that either, the downhill section there, and coming down to the last 8 laps, I said earlier, it might get a bit fraught later on, and with the pit cycle, people having fresher tyres and that, we're seeing a bit of differences now, and that's contributing to some of these great battles, but Bogachev did well to keep hold of that, because, as I said before, that's not a place you really want to be using your car sideways around there.
Bigger job working himself down towards the second on the right. First of the 2 right-handers here, as you see, nothing really here, but he then falls back in line, but that's a big issue for your front runners. Out front though, Humber leading by 19.2 seconds in this motor race. That is how big the gap is with less than 10 laps to go. We'll be back in just one moment, but we will take you RaceSpotTV side by side. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Champions of the Future's V8 Supercar Series. And Dan, P4 through P number 7. It has been getting very interesting as we went to you, RaceSpotTV, side by side.
Yeah, Sanjay DeBellis, we said before about him in getting back to the set place he did so, but with the aid of a back marker, which Istvan Balo will probably be pretty angry at. The car was at number 45 of Jose Carlos Campodonico. What happened was they're coming down the S's, and Campodonico blocked Istvan Balo, which lost him the place, lap number 24, and then following out lap 25, coming out to turn number 3, Balo's gone on the grass. It's lost him a lot of time, and DeBellis is now 5 seconds ahead of Balo, who's also dropped down behind the car of Nikolay Bogachev, but those two are quite close. But unfortunately for Istvan Balo, he's had the sharp end of the stick, you could say there.
Yeah, there's the gap between the two drivers, 4.1 seconds right now. But out from Humber to Trevor Johnson, 24.8 seconds. I mean, if you want to talk about dominance, that is dominance. So 3 and 2 corner laps to go here. Humber has been dominant here today, Dan.
A fantastic drive so by Humber, but side by side nearly for second place, because Oscar Mangan's right on the back now of the car of Trevor Johnson. They're coming back down towards turn 10 now. Johnson on the inside, Mangan on the outside. We saw earlier he lost that time, but Mangan is about to catch it up, and Johnson on the inside will hold the position for now. But Oscar Mangan, a definite signal of intent that he wants that second place. Tail end twitching by Oscar Mangan as he leaves the corner.
Yeah, and the thing there that might just help for the time being, Trevor Johnson, is that there's traffic that came into way here. That makes that gap up to half a second almost. They worked themselves past the start-finish line. That's the thing with Road Atlanta here, Dan. Traffic is always an issue, but Mangan back into the attack immediately as they work themselves down towards turn number 2. That traffic got on the way very, very quickly, making Mangan's charge down towards turn 6 a lot easier. Also, as you said earlier, Will, the fact that the first sector is so narrow and hard to overtake, that really does play into effect into some of these battles, and Mangan's taking a full advantage right on the back of Trevor Johnson with a lap and a half to go of this race. Well, let's have a look then. There you can see your P2 driver of Trevor Johnson and the number 59 car. Mangan right behind him, almost an inside line, down towards turn 7B. Let's ride ourselves along board with Mangan down the back straight away. Can he do anything this time by as he works himself down towards that final chicane? And Dan, this is your best passing opportunity on the racetrack. 2 laps to go. This is go time. It's go time. The blue torch paper been well and truly lit here. Oscar Mangan going to try and get down the inside. Trevor Johnson not quite close enough as they go into turn 10A. As they come out to turn 10B, maybe Johnson has been compromised a little bit there. Back end switches, and Oscar Mangan is like a shark to blood on that one. He can see that car right in front of him, and he knows he's not got much time at all. And going into turn 1, I think Oscar Mangan may be putting nose out. No, he's going to stay behind at the moment. I thought you might have given him a little bit of a... He's got to run now and run down to turn 2. This is a simple pass there. That was an unforced out, and this is what you so often do here. We didn't catch it perfectly on our screens, but this is so often what you do, Dan. You're a racer, you know this one better than anyone. You don't necessarily force the incident, you force them into a mistake. Oh, exactly. It's a psychological game. It's psychological. It's a bit like chess in a way. You're just trying to outfox your opponent, trying to psychologically make him make a mistake, and not quite getting through there, Oscar Manning, in turn 2 and 3. But I've got to say, at the moment, it looks like he's got the advantage. Trevor Johnson is going to have to hit his marks perfectly on these final lap and a bit, because if not, Oscar Mangan is going to take advantage and capitalise and take that second place. Yeah, there you can see Mangan almost getting that P2 down towards turn number 3. But in the interim, the white flag is out. There is one more lap to go here at the beautiful Road Atlanta. There you can see Stephen Humber working himself on the exit of turn number 1. Lap times here take about 1 minute 20. So we're about a minute and a bit away now from victory being given to Stephen Humber, the number 44 machine. Second place is Trevor Johnson. Third place, Oscar Mann. And fourth place is Benjamin Lindsay. And then fifth place is Goran Skivanovsky and the Monster car. But Humber, amazing job. But P2, P3, I don't think it's going to change. Unless you're going to get Mangan alongside down towards turn number 5. We run ourselves along board with him. There you can see Mangan on the run down through turn number 2. Right up behind there, the lead Bodnar Apex Racing car. Through 2, 3, 3, 3, 3-4, 3-5, nothing's going to happen. And it's going to be at the chicane, nothing will happen. But the interesting thing is, here we can see then, Stephen Humber bringing it towards the line. Dan, call it home.
Stephen Humber, fantastic drive from him. He's not had any opposition really. That number 44 has been a dominant force in this race as he now passes the lap car. He's going to come round the right hander for the final time. Checker flag waiting. Stephen Humber takes victory here in the Euro V8s at Road Atlanta. And that battle for second place, Oscar Mangan, he put his nose out at the end of the last lap into turn 10. I think he's going to do so again. He's already pulling out here against Trevor Johnson, and Oscar Mangan, this might be his last opportunity. He's later on the brakes than Trevor Johnson, but you can fight it around the outside. Trevor Johnson fights it around the outside, but if you do that, you can lose momentum going down the hill. And effectively, Mangan across the grass there a little bit there, and I think Trevor Johnson just going to hold on, but a very tight finish there. Trevor Johnson second, Oscar Mangan third.
Yeah, the gap between those two drivers, well, about 1/10 of a second. Behind them, and a little bit of the gap was Benjamin Lindsay. There you can see him out of the final corner. He comes. He will claim P number 4 here today with Oscar Skanowski running out your top 5. Dan, I tell you what, this has been a race. It's been a fun race. It's been an entertaining race. It's been a race that we kind of want to see here on RaceSpotTV. This is V8 Supercars at its very best. Even if the battle for the race lead goes as we think, we still got ourselves some very entertaining battles all the way up and down your field, and that, and I mean that, is what we mean here by a RaceSpotTV top 10. I have just lost Dan Blake. Dan, welcome back. Nope, Dan can't hear a word I'm saying. Dan, welcome back. Nope, yes we are. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's run ourselves then, just briefly, through your top 10. We will get Dan back in just one moment's time as we head ourselves into the RaceSpotTV post-race coverage. As well, here you are then, your top 10 here from this, the third round of the championship. It is the third round of the championship. Stephen Humber, absolutely dominant there, claiming himself the front row of the grid, getting himself pole position, getting himself the race win. Once again, 29.997 seconds. The gap between himself and P number 2 of Trevor Johnson. Dan, P1 to P2, exceptional. Run ourselves through the rest of the top 10. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are just having a couple of technical difficulties here. So P number 2 goes to Trevor Johnson. P3 goes to Oscar Mangan. Then behind them, you got P number 4 will go to Benjamin Lindsay. Then we've got Elgar in P number 5. Alexander Ballas, Istvan Barlow, Baritsky, Rukinov, and Schneider running at the top 10. We'll be back in one moment's time.
I can hear you, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back then to RaceSpotTV here from the Champions of the Future's V8 Supercar Euro Series. Well, Dan, an entertaining race here today. Some good drivers, but Humber leads and dominates this field.
Yeah, Humber with a very dominating drive, and it really is setting a message to all of the fellow competitors that you've really got to work hard if you're going to beat me. That was a really dominant drive from Stephen Humber. Definitely one of the favourites, if not the favourite now, for the championship after that display. You got to think that really that everyone's got to step up their game following that.
We've got the opportunity to talk to Club CQR. Club CQR, how was that race for you? It was that bad, Dan. They don't even want to talk to us.
Oh dear, one of those days, but they'll come back fighting strongly next round. That's one thing about CQR, is they don't give up. Obviously, people like Ashley Sutter and Mars Collette, so you've seen them racing very well in other series, and really, I think that they will come back with a vengeance. As I said before, a learning year maybe perhaps for these drivers in the V8s. They're not used to them as much as they are the front-wheel drive cars, and I think when they get used to the cars, they will be a dominant force, but at the moment, I think they're just trying to get used to the car, and eventually I think we will see the cream of the crop rise, as they say.
Tuesday nights is all about CQR. Thursday night, not so much so far. CQR, are you with me? No.
I'm the only one here, and I didn't race.
Rusty, CQR, how was today?
I don't know.
There we are. Club CQR here on RaceSpotTV. Dan, it's been an interesting day, and I have to say that CQR, they've been dominant on Tuesday nights, not so much on Thursday nights, but something like cream rising to the top, that is what happens to teams. They specialise, they evolve.
I think Rusty there just giving us the iRacing version of a photo bomb, but as you say, I think there will be some definite improvements from CQR in the future, and that's what we like to see, is people like Ashley Sutton and that racing out the front, so hopefully that will be sooner rather than later.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We will talk to you next time. This has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the Championship of the Futures V8 Supercar Championship. We have been RaceSpotTV. We are awesome. We'll talk to you in just 1 week's time. Thank you very much for being a part of our coverage, and good night.